Hey everybody, this is that drummer guy Josh Runquist, and I'm here with a great honor to be able to interview one of my favorite drummers in all of metal, Adrian from At the Gates, who's going to be a part of the Decibel Tour of At the Gates, Converge, Pallbearer and Vallenfyre here at Mill City Nights in Minneapolis, Minnesota. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well, thanks. The tour's been going great so far, so we're sort of halfway through now, and the show's been killer. Even the ones that we thought were doing slow on the pre-sales, like Salt Lake City and Lincoln and Nebraska, were both killer shows. So stoked to be here.
Very cool. I know so many people are going to be here tonight, so hopefully it's going to be like a huge, if not sold out crowd here tonight, because I mean it's huge. I mean, At the Gates finally back after all these years and on such a great bill as well.
Yeah, I mean the lineup is so diverse with from Vallenfyre, Pallbearer. It's got new. All bands have new albums out, right? It's just killer. Everyone's getting along really good, and I think as a punter coming to a gig, you get a lot for your money. So yeah, and it's killer for us to play and watch the bands every night.
Yeah, I mean that's what makes for like such a great bill is like there's so much diversity. Everything from like doom metal Pallbearer to the sounds of Vallenfyre to the legendary At the Gates. And, you know, it's so cool to see.
Yeah, it keeps us on our toes when we go on stage because all the bands are just like playing so well and putting out really good performances. So we're like super sharp when we go on stage to like not let the side down, so to speak. But, yeah, it's a great package, and we're stoked to be here.
Oh, absolutely. So how did this tour come together?
We were discussing we're friends with Albert at Decibel magazine, and we were discussing sort of what kind of promotion we could do for the new album when it finally comes out. And this started already back when we played at Maryland Death Fest last year, and we were discussing, because we wanted to tour in America during this time period anyway, due to Thomas works as a teacher at home in Sweden, and it happens to fall with the Easter holidays in school, so he takes minimum time off work. And we discussed would it work for Decibel to come in on that tour, and finally they got back and we started discussing bands. Albert really wanted Vallenfyre on, and of course Pallbearer, they won the number one album in Decibel, so they were given, and we really wanted Converge on the tour, so we asked them if they were free, and it all came together really neat.
Oh, that's so great to hear. I mean, even given the limited amount of time that you would be able to tour, I mean, it's a great feeling being able to see you guys here in Minneapolis. I mean, I know we're not like Chicago or New York or anything like that, but being able to see you guys on Sunday night here, it's going to be such a great show tonight.
Yeah, I've got high hopes for it. Just when we arrived, it was a nice venue, and the vibes are good.
Yeah, I really like it here. I mean, everything from like a very good green room with showers to the great sound that you get from out there. It's a cool experience.
Totally. We went to the it's a Happy Hen, or the Hen Cafe or something this morning. What's it called? The Hen something.
I know what you're talking about, and I'm looking out on it now.
All day breakfast, and they did like a breakfast Bloody Mary with sausage, egg, and olive and cheese. Sick, yeah. I've been totally gaining some pounds on this tour, but I love touring in America. I always have, and on this tour the response has been great for all bands. So.
I'm so glad to hear it too. And of course, you guys are touring behind your album that came out last year, At War with Reality.
Yeah.
What came to be with this album? How did it all come together?
Well, we did the 2008 reunion. That was just during the summer and autumn, and then we said, okay, that's going to be it. And we really did mean that. It was. I came off stage that last gig in Greece back in 2008, and almost with tears in my eyes because we had such a great time, and we all sort of left it as a fond memory, you know. And then the DVD came out with a Wacken gig that we did, and everyone sort of moved on and did different things. I joined Paradise Lost. The Twins carried on with The Haunted. And then we got an offer to play at Metal Town in Gothenburg. They tried to book us in 2008, but due to us being in America, it never happened. So they placed a significant offer for us to play at the festival, and we thought, oh, maybe we could just do one gig because we had such a good time. It won't be so bad if we break the promise and do one gig. But then, the more we talked about it, the more it seemed like, okay, let's do some more shows. And we started doing shows. We did shows for a couple of years. And then it's it kind of started going on autopilot. You play the best of hits from the old albums, and we're talking about like maybe we can release like a couple of songs for free. And then Anderson Tompa started sort of messing around with ideas. And then they said, we have what we think is almost going to be a full album. How do you all feel about doing an album? And they sent out demos. We started rehearsing. I did a few demo tracks at home on my electric kit, and then we got together in the rehearsal room in Sweden, and then it was like time stood still. The songs just came together really natural, and when we went in the studio, it was like we'd never had a break. It's weird.
Yeah,
I think it marries like all of the different albums that we've done. I don't know how familiar you are with the older albums, but
I got it all.
The band has sort of progressed. The sound has progressed throughout the albums, and I think the new one kind of is a modern version of all of those albums together in a way, where we are as musicians and people today. So.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, when you listen to the album, it sounds like you guys never went away. I mean, it just has that classic sound to it, but in 2014.
Yeah. I mean, that was pretty important to us as well, to sort of not have a completely different sound to the album, because I mean, there's so many different ways we could have mixed this album, but we wanted it to like sound like a modern version of what the band is.
Yeah, and I definitely think that you guys pull it off. I mean, it's such a solid album from beginning to finish, which I feel is very important in an album, to be able to listen to it from front to back and just stay completely solid, and you guys pulled it off.
Yeah, and we said to each other that when we started doing these demos, if it's not up to scratch, then no one in the band should feel let down, but we're not going to then put it out. So we all really put everything we had into it to make it as best as we could.
Oh, very cool. So along with that, I mean, with the At the Gate setup, has your personal setup changed at all?
Do you mean in terms of my drums?
Yeah.
Or, not really. It's pretty much the same. Over the last few years, I've started playing double bass again. With I'd say it varies between the different bands. My setup will vary. I will always have as little as possible with me on tour.
Oh, sure.
Like, especially if you're roading yourself, I prefer to have a smaller kit. Now, with At the Gates, I always play double bass and have done since quite some time. And it's exactly the same setup that I used with the Haunted. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It's just I love the way your setup is. I mean, whether it is like the smaller kit or with the double bass kit. I mean, you always have like a great way, and it always has like a great tone to it too as well.
I'm fortunate to have a really good drum tech that's very good at tuning. I think a little bit it comes down to the way that you play. But the way the kit sounds is also like how the band sounds. If you're playing with a sloppy band, it's not going to sound as good.
Oh, sure.
So I'm fortunate to play with good musicians in all the bands that I'm with. So
yeah, and of course you're a part of so many great and legendary bands throughout your career. I mean, you deserve to be working with like the best musicians that you can.
I mean, it's really there's a lot of luck involved, I think. Rather than that, I think it's just being, like being a reasonable guy, because when you're away on tour together, it's really easy to get in each other's face, and That's the bigger part. Of course, you got to be able to play all the stuff and come up with the ideas and things. But if you're a douchebag off stage, no one's going to want you in the band. And I don't know.
And that also goes with bands that you're touring with as well.
Oh yeah, totally. Mainly on tour actually, because like if you just see someone in a rehearsal room, then you could sort of, oh, he's a bit of a dick, but like he's really good at what he's doing. That could probably keep you afloat. But like I know of a few guys that are not doing so well, but they're great musicians. But due to how they are personality-wise, they're not landing any new gigs. And I just treat people the way I like to be treated. And fortunately, I've been lucky to be able to take part in so many different adventures.
And that's the way it should be too. I mean, especially in metal, with how underground metal is, I mean, it should be like a brotherhood between everybody getting along, because I mean, there's already so little of us in the world compared to the other styles of music out there. It should be a pleasant experience to be able to tour with other musicians or be in a band with somebody. Yeah,
of course. Inevitably, when you do a lot of tours, you will meet people that you clash with.
Oh, sure.
I mean, this tour is probably the best getting along tour that I've ever been on, I think, between all the different bands. So...
well, that's great to hear.
But it's a bit of a lottery, of course. Yeah. You can end up on a tour that you don't get along with the other bands, but yeah.
Well, it's great to hear that this tour is going as well as it is. Going back to the album, was there any songs that were left on the cutting room floor, or possible riffs that might be used in the future?
No, there was a few songs that didn't end up on the original edition, but all the material has been used on other editions. Yeah. As far as ideas for like leftover ideas, there were parts that we scrapped, but that probably means they won't be used.
Okay.
So at the moment, we haven't got any plans to, like write anything new or like develop those ideas. Rather, we're just like enjoying playing these songs live and promoting the album. And at the moment we're playing, I think there's 6 songs from the new album in the set, and we're rehearsing 2 other ones, so that we'll be able to swap the set over between the different gigs.
Oh, very cool. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a good diverse set list too, especially with you guys headlining. Yeah,
all the albums are represented, apart from the first mini album. But we try to, obviously, inevitably the focus is going to be on Slaughter of the Soul and At War with Reality, but the other albums are represented as well.
So are you still okay with that over the years, where like a Slaughter of the Soul is the one that people hold the highest regard?
Yeah, I mean, you can't tell people what to like and what not to like. I listen back to like the older stuff and I like it, but I kind of feel a little bit like we could have done it differently. But at the same time, that's a stamp of who we were at that time, where we were musically, and what we were trying to achieve. That's the best we could possibly do at that time. And I guess you sort of develop as a person and as a musician. And when Alf left after With Fear I Kiss the Burning Darkness, we just wanted to like go for a simpler sound. His crazy arrangements were out, and the twins had to take a larger part of the writing, and it just came really natural to us.
Yeah, that's one thing I can always look back on when I listen to Slaughter of the Souls, because it does sound like such a natural album at the time.
And it was almost like a revenge album for us, because we had when we did Terminal Spirit Disease, we tried to go on this tour. There was a booking agent from Holland that booked us, like a European tour. And we were so green, we hadn't really done any headline touring at that point, so we said yes without seeing the financials of it. Came out on the tour, and the whole tour just broke down, and we had actually we broke down. We couldn't pay for the bus, and the bus driver said, "You got to come up with this amount of money in order for me to take you back to Sweden." So the band we were on tour with was Seance, which featured Jensen from The Haunted on guitars, and he said, "Oh, maybe." Because we had already got demos for Slaughter of the Soul at this point, and he said maybe we can like borrow money from our record label, because we were technically unsigned. We hadn't re-signed to Music for Nations at that point. And we actually went to like a petrol station outside Norwich where we were stranded, and they faxed through a contract from Black Mark Records. And we signed it. They wired the money, and at that point they owned the rights to Slaughter of the Soul. But I think we had like 60 days or something to pay the money back with interest. And luckily we got like a small recording advance from Earache, and we got some money from. We managed to pay the money back, but there was a really scary period there where, like, Slaughter of the Soul could have just ended up on Black Mark Records, and I think it just, like, no one would have ever heard it.
Yeah, so. It's so strange how metal could have been so different if Slaughter of the Soul didn't come out.
And you know, that really it made us like really hungry for revenge from all the situations leading up to that, and it was almost like a cathartic experience recording the album.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's good to have an album like that to like purge yourself of everything that you've gone through, and then when you continue on, you'll have like a new soul going into it.
Of course, a lot of people hold that album like very dear to their heart, and they kind of like are not too open to us carrying on, but and we were kind of a bit apprehensive about that going into doing the new album.
Oh, sure.
But at the same time, you can't live your life wondering what other people are going to think. You got to do what feels right to you, and within a group as well, what feels right between the band members. So you know, we're happy that we did the album, but this is how the band sounds now. Yeah. I think, judging from how the live gigs have been going down, though, that the new songs blend in pretty neatly between the older material.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've yet to hear the new songs live, but I mean, from the experience that I'm getting from listening to the album, I mean, it feels so natural with what At the Gates is doing. Yeah. And I'm glad you touched on it with the new album, because I feel it is so important for a band to make an album that the band wants to make, not just what they think that the fans are going to want.
Yeah.
Because those always make, in my opinion, the worst albums are the ones that the bands don't have their heart into it.
Yeah. Well, there was no other way that we were going to go into doing another album after all this time, unless it was 100% on all levels. So,
So, even though it's still fresh from last year, do you guys still have that 100% feeling about like going into the future, like after the touring cycle for the new album?
Well, we haven't really made any plans after the touring cycle. Kind of living in the moment as we speak, and I would like there to be another album, but you know, we'll see what happens, and just not knowing that there's an album actually feels quite relaxed, you know, like whether we'll do, and if we're doing another album, it's because, you know, we wanted another album, not because the contract says we have to do another album.
Oh, sure.
And yeah, that feels pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great to not have that kind of pressure. I mean, just like going out and touring behind this album and just like feeling relaxed, not having to worry about going in the studio in a couple months and just like getting it out as fast as possible.
Yeah, that's not what this us getting back together is about. It's not. We're not trying to drive this as a career. It's you know, we're playing the songs because we like them. Of course, we like playing live together. We like traveling together, and as long as that's happening, then, you know, chances are there might be another album. But, you know, we'll see.
Well, either way, no matter how it goes with At the Gates, again, I feel honored that I get to do this interview with you, and in a few short hours, I get to see all of my favorite At the Gates songs live.
Excellent.
So, what's the future for you with your other bands?
Well, I did a new album for Paradise Lost that's coming out in the beginning of June.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it's called The Plague Within. It's going to be out on Century Media Records. There's some touring plans at the moment. However, we're still discussing how we're going to fit it with my calendar.
Oh, sure. Would it be too early to ask about the album's sound? I've heard rumors about what it's going to sound like, but would you be able to share any detail about it?
Yeah, it's like a real glance back in time to the earlier sound of Paradise Lost. It's got like a really unprocessed sound to it. It's very raw, and it's got some of the heaviest songs the band's done in a very long time. It's got one of the fastest songs that the band's ever done. It's a very diverse yet sort of historically minded album, and because I was a fan of the band before I joined. As a fan, I love the album. As a musician, it was a real challenge to play on in a good way. So I'm really looking forward to it coming out. I think it'll turn a lot of people that are into like the Host era of Paradise Lost will probably be a bit surprised. But overall, I think even on those kind of synthier albums, you have like the sad melodies that you recognize throughout the career of the band.
Oh, sure.
So,
Yeah, I mean, with like Greg's legendary riffs and tone. I mean,
yeah. It's I'm super pleased to be part of it. So.
Oh, very cool. So how about the other albums? I didn't mean to sidetrack you that much, but
no, that's fine. Okay. The Haunted, Exit Wounds came out last year. We haven't really done that much touring due to it coming out pretty much at the same time as the At the Gates album. We have done. We played in Loud Park, Japan. We're going back to China and Japan later in May. And we're doing an Australian tour. It's also down to the fact that two of the members have normal jobs.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
We have to book gigs around when they can get time off. We are planning to do another album, hopefully in September.
Oh, very cool.
There's outlines for quite a few songs now. And when I get back off this tour, we're going to start doing demos for them. So hopefully that'll be out. I don't know if we're going to get it out this year or early next year.
Would it be too early to ask about the Haunted sound as well? I mean, is it going to continue in the vein of Exit Wounds?
Yeah, more than likely.
Ah, cool.
I'd say probably even more intense.
Oh, nice. And of course, there was Vallenfyre as well, which came out last year.
I mean, that's a discussion that me and Greg are going to have. Because, of course, due to touring commitments with other band, I haven't been able to be part of the live gigs. And I'm unsure whether Greg is going to do a third album or not. It's a little bit up in the air.
Yeah.
But if there is a third album, I'll be super happy to be part of it.
Cool. Well, I do gotta say, I do love both Vallenfyre albums so much, and it's gonna be cool hearing those songs. Even though, unfortunately, you're not gonna be playing behind the kit for those, it's gonna be cool hearing those songs tonight.
The drummer Valtteri, a young guy from Finland who's filling in, he's doing a killer job, man. They're really intense live, so I think you'll like it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, with all of the projects that you've done, I mean, there's so many great names that you've mentioned. Is there anything else in your career that you would like to be able to play on, or like a style of music, or with musicians, or anything like that that you haven't done yet?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of different ideas that I've got. Of course, as a drummer, and I don't write songs. It's really down to what people feel they want me to be a part of it. But yeah, I'd like to explore many other different types of music. But of course, my heart burns for metal, so
And it's still cool that you like from like Paradise Lost to At the Gates to Vallenfyre and everything that you do, it's like you're not just playing one style of metal either. I mean, you get to like showcase different sides of yourself as well. And with drumming, that's kind of important because otherwise you just get so used to sticking to one style of drumming, it makes you want to be able to do something else.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the Paradise Lost live set on its own has got so many different styles of drumming, from the earlier albums to like Draconian Times, which is quite technical drumming, and then to the sort of more synthier albums, back to the albums that I've been playing on now. It's a real challenge, but I like it because it's a challenge. Because it's a challenge, it keeps me on my toes playing wise, which is important, you know. Like I never take anything for granted, like be it the positions of bands that I have, or like how the gig is going to go, you know. It's you always have to put that energy in to make it happen, and just really fortunate to been able to work with this many great bands and artists.
Yeah, it's very inspiring to someone like me to be able to see a drummer just not be known for one style of music and just one band, to be able to showcase as many sides as possible while it's still making sense to be able to tour and make albums and stuff like that. It's so cool to see coming from you.
Excellent.
Well, thank you for taking the time to do this interview. Again, it's been a tremendous honor for me. You've been a huge inspiration to my playing, and it's gonna be so cool to be able to see you again this time with At the Gates in just a few short hours. Before we finish up, is there anything else that you would like to bring up that I have not brought up yet?
I think we pretty much summed up my little life. No, it's great. Thank you for taking the time, and interesting with in-depth questions.
Oh yeah, when I do an interview with a band, I want to make sure that it's with a band or an artist that I truly care about, like one that I grew up listening to, or a new discovery that I'm really digging, and I want to be able to make sure to give them a great interview and not just ask them the same questions that they keep hearing over and over again. So it just doesn't feel like I'm reading off a script or something like that.
That's
mean, it's just like I like showing off that I am a real fan and I really do appreciate the music.
Sweet. I look. So how is it coming out in writing, or is it going to be like a live stream? Or?
Well, actually, I'm trying to decide. Usually, I do a radio show every week, and I usually record them on Mondays. So either I'll be putting this on my show this week, starting this week, or I'll be putting it on next week.
Okay.
And then I also take the interview straight from here, and then I put it up on a YouTube version of it as well.
Okay.
And then with some interviews, I also write them out as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So feel free to send me those links. I'll be happy to share them.
Oh, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
No worries.
And once again, this has been Adrian from At the Gates. Make sure to check out At War with Reality, and of course check out everything he's done from Paradise Lost to Vallenfyre, and of course At the Gates. This is that German guy, Josh Runquist. Thank you.
Thanks.